Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Fatima. I'm working as senior registrar in New Hospital, Lahore. I also had the privilege of working in Shalamar Institute of Medical Sciences in the Department of Surgery as a senior registrar. So today I'm here to discuss with you our recent research work, which is development and validation of Shalamar online learning experience measure called SOLEM. First, I would like to tell you a little bit about the background of this study. So, this idea was initiated in March 2020 when, due to coronavirus pandemic, a nationwide lockdown was imposed by our government. This led to the transition of medical education from traditional classroom teaching to online learning or e-learning. So it was the need of the time to shift our education system to online means. So our college, Shalamar Medical and Dental College, wasted no time and introduced Shalamar e-learning management system, SELMS, webinar jam and surgeomics for online learning. It was ensured by the administration that daily lectures were broadcasted live to students of all years, with clinical wards and operative procedures being taught live to the students. And subsequent assessments were taking on SELMS in the form of multiple choice questions and short essay questions. So our idea was to develop a questionnaire which could assess the quality of online learning in surgical field. We followed the three basic steps that are involved in the development of learning environment scale. First step was identification of individual scales and items. Initially, we chose 56 items and divided these items under 12 scales. We retrieved these items from six pre-validated scales, which is Dundi Reddy Education Environment Measure DREAM, which is one of the most famous learning environment scale in the history. Second was technology rich outcome focused learning environment Trophy. Third was what is happening in the class. Fourth, web-based learning environment inventory, distance education learning environment survey, and constructivist online learning environment survey. Here you can see that Solum was derived from these six pre-validated scales. Initially, we developed 13 scales and 56 items, but our final version contained 12 scales and we included only 48 items. So one scale was taken from COLES, one from GCEI, one from Webley, and one from Dallas. Three scales were selected from technology-rich outcome-focused learning environment, and five scales were retrieved from Dundi Reddy Education Environment Measure. So initially, we reviewed the literature and previously validated learning instruments, which could be modified for Solum. 12 scales were selected from 6 validated instruments. Second step was to categorize these scales based on Moore's 3 psychosocial dimensions. In our third step, we wrote new items and adopted individual items for each scale. Our last step was expert validation. The sample of students for this study was drawn from medical undergraduate students of Shalamar Medical and Dental College. We sent a Google-based form to 300 medical students, out of which 160 students responded to this questionnaire. Items were judged on a scale, 5-point Likert scale, which is strongly agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. The mean, standard deviation, and Cronbach's alpha were computed for every one of the 12 scales in Solum. The second component of analysis consisted of exploratory factor analysis, EFA. And finally, we performed principal component analysis, which suggested that this questionnaire, Solum, is structurally sound. Now, I would like to tell you a little bit about PCA, principal component analysis. It is a technique to reduce the dimensionality of each data set, and to identify new uncorrelated variables in order to maximize the variance. In PCA, two different methods of rotation are used, which is orthogonal and varimax. However, varimax is the most popular method of rotation applied to enhance and simplify the interpretability. In our study, we established the construct validity using content validity and principal component analysis. Our PCA analysis yielded 7 factors for the Solum. The 7 factor solution accounted for approximately 72.6% of the variance, while 27.4% of the variance remained unaccounted. 48 items had factor loading greater than greater than zero point 0.5, while 6 items had factor loading less than zero point 0.5. So we removed those items from our final questionnaire. Content validity was verified through previous research and experts interaction. We sent a Google form to a panel of our 8 experts, which were mostly educationists from different institutes for the purpose of content validity. In order to measure internal reliability of the questionnaire, Cronbach's alpha coefficient was calculated, which turned out to be high and suggested that Solum has high internal consistency. As I have told you earlier, that our final version consisted of 48 items and 12 scales. Here in this slide, you can see our 12 items and their representative 12 scales and their representative items, content validity index of each item, and factor loading of each item. Um, our items had factor loading greater than 0. 0.5, and content validity index was also high. So our 12 scales are perception of learner, perception of teacher, academic self-perception, perception of atmosphere, computer usage, active learning, design and appeal, reflective thinking, active learning. So these were our 12 items. And here in this slide, you can see the internal consistency for Solum computed using Cronbach's alpha, which is quite high for every scale. So in conclusion, I would like to say that due to the increasing prevalence of online education, it is of great importance for the e-learning service providers to investigate the productiveness of this system and accordingly make effective strategies to deliver better to deliver a good quality education. Our study is suggestive in that it involved development and validation of a scale that provided feedback responses based on students' perception of the online learning environment. Solum questionnaire could be used to assess the quality of an online learning environment, and Solum can also be used to explore methods in which teachers can make an online education environment more conducive for students' learning, thereby enhancing student outcomes. So this brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you everyone for joining us in this session. Have a good day.